Most men believe desire comes from effort, from pleasing, from staying close. But female desire doesn't awaken when everything feels safe and predictable. It awakens when something moves inside her, when there is space, tension, autonomy, and truth. Today, you'll understand why 5 simple phrases, avoided by most men, can make desire return, not because they are romantic, but because they are dangerous. Before we continue, comment below. Do you believe desire dies with time, or does it simply fall asleep? And subscribe. You are part of this conversation now. I don't need you, I choose you. Inspired by Esther Perel's ideas on autonomy and desire, desire does not grow from need, it grows from choice. The moment a woman feels that a man needs her in order to feel whole, something inside her body tightens. Not because she doesn't care, but because desire requires 2 complete individuals, not one person leaning on the other for emotional survival. This phrase is dangerous because it breaks one of the most common illusions about love, that dependency equals intimacy. I don't need you does not mean emotional distance. It means emotional autonomy, and autonomy is deeply attractive. Many men avoid this phrase because they fear it will make them seem replaceable. But the opposite happens. When a woman senses that you have a life, identity, purpose, and emotional center outside of her, you stop being predictable, and predictability kills desire. This phrase communicates something powerful without shouting, "I am here because I want to be, not because I'm afraid to be alone." Desire needs distance, not emotional coldness, but psychological space. When a woman realizes she is chosen, not used to fill a void, her nervous system relaxes, and when the nervous system relaxes, desire has room to breathe. Need creates pressure, pressure creates resistance, choice creates tension, and tension is erotic. This is why this phrase scares so many men. It demands emotional maturity. It demands that you stand firmly in your own life. You cannot say this phrase honestly if you don't already feel complete on your own. And that's exactly why it works. Desire is not attracted to desperation. It is attracted to self-possession. When a man chooses instead of clings, something ancient wakes up, something quiet, something magnetic, and suddenly desire feels possible again. If this phrase challenged you, comment below. Desire often begins exactly where the ego resists. I'm not trying to convince you. Inspired by Esther Perel's ideas on desire, polarity, and emotional autonomy. One of the fastest ways to suffocate desire is trying too hard to be chosen. Most men are taught, directly or indirectly, that attraction is something you must earn. You prove your value, you explain yourself, you justify your intentions, you convince. But desire does not respond to persuasion, it responds to presence. This is why this phrase feels dangerous. I'm not trying to convince you. It removes pressure. And where pressure disappears, desire has space to emerge. When a man tries to convince a woman to want him, he unknowingly places himself in a lower position, not because she is superior, but because persuasion implies insecurity. Convincing says, "I need you to choose me so I can feel okay." And desire immediately pulls away from that energy. Desire does not want to be persuaded, it wants to discover. This phrase signals something radically different. I trust myself enough to let you decide. That trust is powerful. When a woman senses that a man is not performing, selling, or over-explaining who he is, she feels something rare, emotional steadiness. And emotional steadiness is erotic. Most men avoid this phrase because silence feels risky. They fear that if they don't explain, justify, or chase, they will be forgotten. But desire doesn't grow in noise. It grows in tension. When you stop trying to convince, you introduce uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the core ingredients of desire. This doesn't mean indifference. It means confidence without force. "I'm not trying to convince you," says. "I respect your autonomy. I respect my own value. I don't need to control the outcome." Control kills desire. Freedom invites it. This phrase also shifts responsibility back where it belongs. The woman is no longer reacting to pressure. She is responding to her own desire. And that internal movement is essential. Desire cannot be imposed from the outside. It must arise from within. When a man releases the need to persuade, something subtle changes in the dynamic. The emotional air becomes lighter, the interaction feels less loaded, and in that lightness, curiosity appears. Curiosity leads to attention. Attention leads to presence. Presence leads to desire. This is why emotionally mature men often feel more attractive without trying. They are not chasing desire, they are allowing it. The paradox is simple. The moment you stop trying to convince, you become more convincing, not through words, but through energy. This phrase communicates that you are not afraid of rejection, and fearlessness is magnetic. Desire is drawn to people who can tolerate uncertainty, who do not collapse when outcomes are unclear, who can stay grounded without guarantees. That grounding tells a woman's nervous system, "This person is safe enough not to trap me," and safety without possession is one of the deepest triggers of desire. This is why this phrase is avoided by most men. It demands emotional strength. It demands self-worth that is not dependent on approval. You cannot say it honestly if you are desperate for validation. But when you can, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, desire doesn't feel like something you must chase. It feels like something that can meet you. You are free to leave, inspired by Esther Perel's ideas on freedom, commitment, and desire. Few phrases are as misunderstood and as powerful as this one. You are free to leave. Most men hear this sentence and immediately associate it with loss, with abandonment, with weakness. But in the psychology of desire, this phrase does the opposite. Desire does not survive captivity. It survives choice. When a woman feels that staying is an obligation, desire slowly shuts down, not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly, through the body. This phrase is dangerous because it removes the invisible cage that kills attraction. Many relationships don't end because love disappears. They end because freedom does. When a man communicates calmly and sincerely that a woman is free to stay or to go, he sends a message that reaches deeper than logic. I am not holding you hostage emotionally. And that is profoundly attractive. Control suffocates desire. Freedom activates it. Most men avoid this phrase because they believe it invites abandonment. They think, if I give her freedom, she will leave. But the truth is harsher. If she wants to leave, she already has. Desire cannot be negotiated through fear. When a woman senses that a man is trying to secure her through guilt, pressure, or obligation, her nervous system goes into defense, and desire does not exist in defense mode. This phrase dismantles fear-based attachment. You are free to leave says, I trust myself, I trust you, I trust that desire must be voluntary. That trust changes everything. It creates emotional oxygen, and desire needs oxygen. This phrase also restores dignity to the relationship. It removes the unspoken transaction. I stay, therefore you owe me desire. Desire never works like that. Desire is not a debt, it is a response. When a man allows freedom without drama, without threat, without manipulation, he creates a rare emotional environment, one where desire can return without shame. Because now, if she stays because she wants to. And wanting is erotic. This phrase does not mean emotional distance. It does not mean indifference. It means strength without possession. It means saying, I would rather be chosen freely than kept by fear. Very few men can tolerate that level of vulnerability, because it requires confronting a deep truth. You cannot control whether someone desires you. But the paradox is cruel and beautiful at the same time. The moment you stop trying to secure desire, you become more desirable. Freedom restores polarity. Polarity restores attraction. When a woman feels free, she can move toward you without resistance, without rebellion, without emotional suffocation. Desire returns not because she is afraid to lose you, but because she chooses you, and that choice feels alive. This phrase transforms commitment from obligation into desire-driven presence, and that is why it terrifies so many men, because it demands self-worth that does not depend on being needed. But when spoken with calm confidence, this phrase does something extraordinary. It invites desire back into the room. Before we continue, comment below. Do you believe freedom strengthens desire or threatens relationships? And subscribe to the channel. You're not just watching this conversation, you are part of it. Not everything about me is meant to please you. Inspired by Esther Perel's ideas on desire, polarity, and self-possession, desire fades fastest in the presence of constant approval. Many men believe that being desirable means being agreeable, flexible, always accommodating, always available. But desire does not grow in the soil of people-pleasing. It withers there. This phrase is dangerous because it draws a clear boundary between intimacy and self-erasure. Not everything about me is meant to please you. To many ears, this sounds selfish, but psychologically, it is grounding. When a man organizes his personality around being liked, something essential disappears, his edge, and without edge, desire loses tension. Desire needs friction, not conflict, but difference. This phrase communicates self-possession. It says, I have an inner world that does not exist solely to serve your approval, and that is deeply attractive. Most men avoid this phrase because they fear rejection. They learned early that love is conditional, that being agreeable keeps them safe. But erotic energy does not respond to safety alone. It responds to authenticity. When a woman senses that a man is constantly adjusting himself to avoid disapproval, she feels the imbalance. He is orbiting her emotional state, and desire rarely flows toward someone who is orbiting. This phrase reclaims center. It does not attack. It does not withdraw affection. It simply establishes a truth. I remain myself, even in intimacy. That truth restores polarity. Polarity is not about dominance, it is about difference. Two people with no psychological edges create emotional flatness, and flatness kills desire. This phrase allows a woman to experience a man as someone with boundaries, preferences, values, and limits. Someone who can say no without collapsing. Someone who does not barter his identity for closeness. And that steadiness creates respect. Desire often follows respect. This is not about withholding love. It is about refusing to disappear. When a man no longer needs to be constantly pleasing, something shifts in the dynamic. The interaction becomes less predictable. More alive, desire awakens when the other remains slightly unknowable. This phrase also removes a hidden pressure many women feel, the pressure to manage the man's emotional well-being. When a man owns his internal world, a woman is freed from the responsibility of regulating his self-worth, and freedom, again, is erotic. Most men believe that harmony creates desire, but harmony without individuality creates boredom. This phrase restores individuality. It allows disagreement without rupture, difference without threat. And in that space, desire can re-enter, because desire does not want a mirror, it wants an encounter. This is why this phrase feels so risky. It challenges the belief that love must always be smooth. But desire has never been smooth. It has always been alive. And life requires edges. When spoken calmly, without defensiveness, this phrase does not push a woman away. It invites her closer to the real person, not the performance. And real presence is always more desirable than perfection. Desire doesn't come with guarantees. Inspired by Esther Perel's ideas on uncertainty, risk, and erotic vitality, desire has never been a promise. It has always been a risk. The moment we demand certainty, desire begins to fade, because desire lives in movement, not in contracts. This phrase is dangerous because it confronts one of our deepest fears, the fear of investing emotionally without assurance. Desire doesn't come with guarantees. Most men avoid this truth because it threatens their sense of control. They want to know that effort will be rewarded, that commitment will secure attraction, that love will ensure desire. But desire does not operate on logic. It operates on aliveness. When a woman feels that desire has become an obligation, something she must maintain, her body rebels, not consciously, but biologically. Desire cannot be demanded, it can only be invited. This phrase removes the illusion that love can eliminate uncertainty, and paradoxically, that honesty restores erotic energy. When a man can tolerate not knowing how desire will evolve, not knowing whether attraction will remain constant, he communicates emotional strength, and emotional strength is seductive. This phrase says, I am willing to feel without controlling the outcome. I can stay present even without guarantees. I trust life more than certainty. That trust creates space. And desire needs space more than it needs reassurance. Many relationships lose desire not because love disappears, but because risk does. Everything becomes predictable, secured, managed, but desire does not want management. It wants vitality. This phrase brings desire back into the realm of choice, not duty. It removes the unspoken contract. I commit, therefore you must desire me. That contract has never been fair, and desire has always resisted it. When a woman senses that a man can stay emotionally open without demanding certainty, something profound happens. She feels less trapped, less watched, less responsible for sustaining his sense of worth. And in that freedom, desire can return. This phrase does not mean resignation. It does not mean emotional detachment. It means courage. The courage to love without possession, to desire without entitlement, to stay open without guarantees. Very few people can do this. But those who can become magnetic, because desire is drawn to those who are alive enough to risk it. This phrase also marks the transition from adolescent fantasy to adult intimacy, where desire is no longer confused with security, where passion is not expected to be permanent, but present. Desire does not need eternity. It needs honesty, and honesty reawakens erotic life. When spoken without bitterness, without fear, this phrase invites a woman into an adult relationship with desire, one based on freedom, choice, and presence. And that kind of desire is not loud, it is deep. It does not promise forever, but it feels real. And real desire is always more powerful than guaranteed affection. If this video shifted the way you think about desire, comment below. Which phrase challenged you the most? And subscribe to the channel. This isn't about tricks or tactics. It's about understanding desire at a deeper level. You're part of this conversation now.